Did you know by the year 2020, the World Health Organization estimates that depression will be the #2 cause of lost years of life? Or that the Center for Disease Control reports that 1 in 10 U.S. adults has depression? So what do these statistics tell us? They tell us that depression is a serious medical issue and something that should not be ignored or taken lightly. If I can address your attention over here to my poster, it represents the percent receiving treatment for major depression. You will see in the bar graph over here in black, it represents different age groups. They include 18 or older, 18 to 25, 26 to 49, 50 or older, as well as male and female. What I want you to gather from this poster is that all the percentage points are above 50%. This stresses my point that depression is a serious medical issue and something that should not be ignored or taken lightly. Today, I hope to inform you a little bit about the disorder and how you can help someone, whether it be a teenager or an adult, overcome their depression. And finally, I will end with how you can live with a depression-free lifestyle. So, what is depression? In his book, Understanding Depression, J. Raymond DePaulo Jr. says, to put it simply, having depression is like having the flu. The difference being there's little you can do about the illness. He continues by saying that people with the disorder oftentimes wonder what's wrong with them, and what's worse is that they believe there is no escape. Continuing on with Understanding Depression, the book recognizes depression as an episodic illness. So what does this mean exactly? It means that people with depression experience weeks or months at a time with depressive states, and then in between episodes they feel fine, as if they never had depression in the first place. The last thing I want to mention about depression is that oftentimes these people feel unimportant and worthless, and what's worse is that they believe that the people around them will catch on to the fact that they're useless and unimportant. This can only magnify the depressive symptoms and only makes things worse. So now that we have a fundamental understanding of what depression is, let's move on and discuss how you can help someone, whether it be an adult or a teenager, overcome their depression. The first thing you need to ask yourself is the person you love truly clinically depressed, or are they just going through a moment of sadness? In my research, I found a book called What to Do When Someone You Love is Depressed. In the book, authors Mitch and Susan Golant say that in order to diagnose depression, the sufferer must have experienced major depressive episodes for most parts of the day, and for at least 2 weeks, and also have experienced changes in physical activity, sleep, appetite, and have suicidal thoughts. In addition, the authors provided a checklist to help you determine whether your loved one is truly clinically depressed and should seek medical help. The checklist provided things such as, do they have trouble falling asleep at night? Have they recently become extremely dependent? And do they experience fits of crying? When someone you love is depressed, your first instinct is to help them overcome their depression. But you need to be careful not to take on too much responsibility. In What to Do When Someone You Love is Depressed, it states that taking on too much responsibility can be linked to your unconsciously blaming yourself for your loved one's depression. And under no circumstances should you do this, or should you bring yourself down in an attempt to bring your loved one's feelings back up. Lastly, I want to mention how you can comfort your loved one. For example, let's say your loved one who is depressed is consistently crying all the time and is expressing that nobody cares and nobody loves them. Your initial reaction might be to say something like, "Of course I care, of course I love you, your friends and your family care as well." However, answering in this way only takes the complaint literally and does not address the underlying fear of abandonment. So in my research, I found that you need to do something called the observer's mind. This is the ability to detach yourself in an effort to respond to your feelings of your loved one rather than to just their literal content. The goal of this is to recognize their feelings without responding personally. The last thing that you should do is to validate your loved one's feelings. So, back to our example, in an effort to validate their feelings and exercise the observer's mind, you might want to try something like this. "I know it feels that way right now, and I sympathize with that." Next, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about how you can help a teenager overcome their depression. As adults, it's our responsibility to realize that everything that goes on in a teenager's life is very important and very real to them. In the book Helping Your Teen Beat Depression, Katharina Meneses and Anne-Marie Lebach explains some of the causes of teenage depression. They include things such as hormone fluctuation. You might have a genetic predisposition for the disorder. You can compare yourself to peers, and that can lower your self-esteem. And certain medications can lead you to depression. In an article I found on helpyourchildbeatdepression.com, Angel Adams stresses communication. And to have an adult sit down with a teenager and really communicate their feelings, it could be a good step in them overcoming their depression. Next, I want to talk about how you can live with a depression-free lifestyle. In the book, Depression Free for Life, authors Gabriel Cousens and Mark Mayel state a few of the lifestyle changes that you can have. They include things like exercising, connect with friends and family, and create a creative outlet. Also in the book, it is recommended that you should learn to live and to laugh. Most of the things that go on in our life are really serious. So in an effort to kind of relieve that seriousness, you need to learn how to, laugh at yourself and to forgive and to love the people around you. We learned a lot about depression today. As a reminder, we learned that by the year 2020, the World Health Organization estimates that depression will be the #2 cause of lost years of healthy life. My goal for today was to recognize what depression is and how serious it is, and also how you can help someone, whether it be an adult or a teenager, overcome their depression, and finally, how you can live with a depression-free lifestyle. One last thing I want you to take away from this speech is that how you can make a difference in someone's lives and someone who is experiencing depression. I know that I've personally had experience with one of my family members that had depression, and it would have made a world of difference for someone to have come up to them and to express their genuine thoughts and feelings for that person. I know that with the personal insight I gave to you today from my life and from the information I gave you as well on depression, I know that you can make a difference in someone's life. Just remember that no matter how small or big the difference is, it will be greatly appreciated.
Good, that's very nice. Very nice.